Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Grace and this is my first ever attempt at a 24-hour reading vlog. I am pretty nervous. I've watched a lot of these and really enjoyed them, but I've never sat down to concentrate on reading for this long a stretch of time. And I am a very slow reader. I know that a lot of people get through 4 or 5 really chunky books in these, but that is probably not going to happen here. I've picked out a few that I'll show you in a minute, but I will mostly just be pleased if I can keep my concentration for this long and also not fall asleep. I am perpetually sleepy all the time. I think I might be iron deficient, but I am too scared to go to the doctors and have a blood test, so... But I often fall asleep while reading. It is a constant struggle for me, even in the middle of the day, so this is really gonna be a challenge for me. I also know that there are a few different versions of the 24-hour readathon. There are some people who do straight through, actually 24 hours. There are some people who time their reading and then add that up to 24 hours. And then there are some people who split it over a few days and split the hours evenly between those days, which I think is what I'm gonna try this time. I'm gonna go for 2 days and 12 hours in each, adding up to 24. Mostly because pulling an all-nighter is actually pretty bad for you, and I cannot cope with that anymore at my ripe old age of 24. I just need a good night's sleep in between. But now I think I'll show you the books that I'm planning on getting to. I'm trying to make this kind of a wintry theme, largely because it is pretty miserable and cold here at the moment, and I thought I could try and make that festive rather than just miserable by leaning into the vibes. So first up, I have a book that I've mentioned that I really want to get to this year, and that is Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. Now this is the companion novella to Sorcery of Thorns, which I've said before I absolutely loved. That one is a story about Elizabeth, who works at a magical library where grimoires can come alive and attack people, but she gets in trouble for fighting one particular grimoire and gets taken away to the city to be tried for this crime, and the person who is sent to take care of her and keep her guarded while she's on trial is a sorcerer called Nathaniel. And they end up discovering some conspiracies together, some mysteries, and also developing their own relationship. This is a novella which is set after the first book, and I believe the plot is that Elizabeth and Nathaniel are hosting a winter ball, but something goes wrong with the magical wards of their mansion, and this ends up causing all kinds of chaos, and they have to work together to solve these problems before the winter ball comes around. So I think this is probably just going to be really sweet and nice little continuation of their relationship, and maybe explore a couple of other things that were left at the end of Sorcery of Thorns. So I'm intrigued. I am excited to be back in this world again. I really enjoy Margaret Rogerson's writing style. So I think I'm probably going to save this one till later in the 24 hours as something to keep me going and motivate me, because I'm really excited for this one. But that is Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. Next up is actually a sequel to a middle grade story that I read, I don't think last year, I think it was the year before, and that is Fireborn, Phoenix and the Frost Palace by Aisling Fowler. I should mention that this is a proof. I realised that I've never mentioned on this channel that I work at a bookstore, so I end up getting quite a few proofs. Publishers like to send them out to booksellers so that if we enjoy them, we can then promote them more to customers. But this is one that I requested because I'd already read the first one in the series and I really enjoyed that one. This is the first one in the series, 12 and the Frozen Forest, and this is about a girl called 12 who lives in the Hunting Lodge, which is basically a fortress in the middle of this icy waste in this fantasy land. And in this fortress there are children training to become monster hunters to protect the rest of this realm. But one day the fortress is attacked, and during this attack one of 12's friends is kidnapped. So 12 ends up going on a journey with some unlikely companions to try and track her friend down. What I really enjoyed about this one was the characters were really interesting, especially for a middle grade book. We tend to call it 9 to 12 over here, so I'd say that this is probably top end between that 12 and going into young adult. The main character is really flawed and not that likable initially, but she goes through a lot of growth in this first book, as do all of the other characters. They're all quite complex and flawed and have their own secrets that are discovered throughout the story, and their relationships are really interesting. So I thought this was a brilliant middle grade story, and I'm really excited to see where those relationships go in this second book. So that is Fireborn, Phoenix and the Frost Palace by Aisling Fowler. The third book I have, I thought it would be a good idea for me to have an audiobook on the list in case I have enough of just staring at physical books for hours on end. And one that I have available and I've heard good things about is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. Now this one I heard Carrie from Carrie Can Read recommend, and she said that this one is surprisingly cozy for the plot summary that you get initially. This is about a middle-aged man called Stephen who was a paladin, but his god died a few years ago. So now he has all of this leftover power that he can't fully control and he doesn't know what to do with because he can't use it in service of this god anymore. So he's really struggling to find a purpose these days. And one day he stumbles into a perfumist called Grace and they end up witnessing an attempted assassination together. And because of this, they end up embroiled in the investigation, are forced to spend quite a bit of time together, and I'm sure you can figure out where the relationship goes from there. But from what Carrie was saying, the relationship between the two of them is really cozy, and I think the writing style is also quite cozy and a little bit funny as well, which I'm always intrigued to see because I think comedy is one of the hardest things to write. And I'm also just really interested to read more fantasy stories that aren't just about 18 to 25-year-olds. And I think the main characters in this one are a little bit older, have a little bit more life experience. So that should be an interesting perspective, I think. So that is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. So those are all the books I'm hoping to get to in this 24 hours. I know that it doesn't necessarily look like much, and one of them's a kid's book and one of them's a novella, but for me, if I manage to get through all of those, I will be very impressed with myself. We'll see what happens, but I will see you in the morning, bright and early, to get started. Wish me luck. Good morning. It is 7:39 a.m. I'm being a little quiet because Chris is still asleep in the other room. Sorry, my hair is a bit wet. I just hopped out of the shower. I was gonna start at 7:30, but I wanted to make myself a little mint tea. I've heard that mint helps to keep you awake, so I'm gonna need that. It's still kind of dark here. The sun's beginning to rise over the city, so that's nice that I get to watch the sunrise. It's very misty out there, so it's quite atmospheric, but I think I'm gonna get started on Fireborn 2. I have my emotional support jellycats, so we're prepared. So official start time is 7:42 a.m. So we're going till 7:42 tonight. It's happening, folks. Let's go. It's cold. So, update. It is 10:51. So it's been a little over 3 hours of reading. I think I had like a sneaky 20-minute nap in there somewhere. But we don't need to talk about that, it's fine. I am on page 104 of Fireborn. It's reasonably chunky, but the writing, the text is super big, so I have been getting through this faster than I normally would. I'm enjoying it so far. The thing that I loved about the first book was the character depth. I felt like for a middle grade book, it had pretty complex characters. The main kind of cast of friends were all really interesting and each had their own complexities and things that were revealed throughout the story. So I'm interested to see how that will play out in this book because we've already had some of those big character reveals in the first book, but I'm enjoying seeing that new dynamic now. I just hope that they'll still have some growth in here. But plot-wise, we've got witches. So things are looking good. This is such a pretty proof, honestly. It's one of the nicest ones I've ever received. Look at that. Oh. I'm gonna read a little bit more of this and then when it gets to around lunchtime, I think I'm gonna pause and listen to some of my audiobook. But for now, we continue with Fireborn. Okay, so I'm on chapter 10 of Paladin's Grace. I am really enjoying this. This was a bit of a random pick for me. All I had to go on was this one recommendation. I've never read a T. Kingfisher book before. I am really enjoying the characters in this so far. Both the main characters and each of them have like a friend that they're close to. And the banter between the two pairs of friends is really lovely. I haven't seen too much of the two love interests together yet, but I think that it will be really good if the banter of the other characters is anything to go off of. It's made me laugh several times. And I'm liking the way that it's weaving in the coziness with some more serious themes. Like objectively, the concept of a paladin who's lost their god and because of this doesn't have full control over their bloodlust and can cause destruction without meaning to it's quite a dark theme, but the book overall still feels really cozy and it has quite everything is viewed through quite a comedic lens so far, or at least kind of a wry comedy. For example, there is someone going around one of the local villages and leaving the heads of people that they've killed in the river, and the paladin keeps bringing this up to people who just don't seem bothered at all. They're like, it's fine, I can walk down the street, it's fine, everyone likes me here. And the paladin's like, guys please, you could be decapitated. It's a really interesting angle. I'm really enjoying the voice and it's feeling quite feminist as romances go, which is not always the case. The male main character is very respectful of women and consent and their ability to take care of themselves, even though he's happy to help them out. If they need a rescue, he also understands that a lot of the time they can do just fine on their own, thank you. So far, it's quite refreshing, this kind of romance. It's funny, and I'm excited to see once the two main characters actually spend more time together, how their relationship develops. I'm gonna carry on listening for a bit, but I thought that I might do some crochet at the same time. So please don't judge me for this, but my plan this Christmas was to make Chris, my partner, a jumper, and it ended up taking a lot longer than I expected it to. I ordered smaller yarn than I meant to, which meant it required a lot more work, so I'm still not done. I've set myself a new deadline. It has to be done by Valentine's Day. I'm currently working on one of the panels of the jumper. And I found this design online and then had to modify it a little bit. I don't know who originally created it, but I will link the tutorial that I've been using down below if anyone's interested. If any of you are crochet grannies or grandpas or grand people. This is the design so far. I love them. I'm really happy with how this turned out. There are a few mistakes here and there, but it's usually ended up just giving a cat some side eye. Like here, the eyes aren't in the right place. They're meant to be central under the ears here, but he just looks like he's going. So that's pretty fun. So yeah, I'm gonna carry on doing some of this and listen to some more Paladin's Grace. He just gave her a pair of socks that he knitted himself. Hello. So, sorry for the lighting. It is very much dark now. It is nearly 6 p.m. and I've been listening to Paladin's Grace and doing some crochet. I'm very cozy. I have been struggling a little bit to concentrate. Not because the story is bad, just because I am not used to concentrating on anything for this length of time. Sometimes I do wonder if the internet has just wrecked my attention span. So I'd like to work on that. This is probably quite a healthy thing for me to be doing. But yeah, story-wise, it's quite cheesy, the romance, but I'm not hating that. The female main character has a little bit of the I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough syndrome, which is like a valid issue for a person to have. And I just feel like you see that a lot in female main characters. It's not an egregious fault. I'm still really enjoying the story overall, and the dialogue is top notch. There's a bit of a mystery going on. The friends are still great. One of them we're seeing less of. I want to get him back because he's really funny. I think it's probably gonna get a little bit smutty soon, but I can cope with respectful smut, that's all right. I have some zoomies to get out. So I'm gonna like stretch for a minute and then I will go back to reading some more Fireborn. I think my boyfriend gets back from work in like half an hour-ish and he will probably do his best to distract me once he's back. But he is currently reading A Court of Silver Flames. Brilliant. So maybe I can persuade him that we should just have a little reading sesh together. You probably won't see that because he's camera shy, but just know that I will be reading my little kid's book while my boyfriend will be sat next to me reading smart. So technically I have a bit under 2 hours left to do today. I am considering doing like an extra hour-ish later because I have plans tomorrow evening. So if I want to do the full 12 hours tomorrow, then I'll have to get up very early, which I never want to do. So I might squeeze them in tonight. But yeah, enjoying both books so far. A raging success, I would hesitate to say. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to it and read some Fireborn. Good morning. It is the next day. It is nearly 7:44 a.m. I did 2 extra hours of reading last night, so I'm at 14 hours total out of my 24, so I only have to do 10 today. Reading count so far, I'm on page 200 of Fireborn, and I have 2 hours and 59 minutes left of Paladin's Grace. Paladin's Grace has made me laugh out loud on several occasions now, which is always a very good sign. I was thinking earlier, it reminds me of, you know, those old romance books that have like a crazy bulky man on the cover with a woman swooning. It reminds me of one of those, but feminist and really funny, like really self-aware. It knows what it is, so it leans into that, but in a feminist way. And I'm just having a really fun time. This is definitely the most unexpected one so far. I didn't think I'd enjoy it quite as much as I am doing. So I think, because I'm quite into that one, I'm gonna listen to a little bit more right now to wake up, and then I'm gonna start Mysteries of Thorn Manor. I really wanna get through this one today, and it is pretty small and like quite short as well, so I'm hoping I can zoom through it. Fingers crossed. But yeah, let's get back into it. Oh, we're starting at 7:48 a.m. by the way, so we're going till 5:48 today. So, update. It is 12:53, so I have nearly 5 hours left, and I've got an hour and a half left of Paladin's Grace to listen to, and I am on page 116 of Mysteries of Thorn Manor. I'm enjoying it so far. It's very much, I think companion novellas often struggle with just the purpose for them. Why are they necessary? A lot of the time you could have just stopped at the book. It might be a nice little revisit for people who really enjoyed the book, but at the end of the day, they usually don't have a huge amount of impact on their own. So it's sweet, it's fun to be back in the world, and I enjoy the writing and the creativity of the magic that's involved. It's sweet seeing the relationship between Nathaniel and Elizabeth again, and that is being developed a little bit more. There is one person that I am really enjoying seeing more of, who I won't mention because it's kind of a spoiler for people who haven't read the initial book. But generally, it's going to be a quick, easy read. I don't think it's going to be a favourite, but it's fun. It's cute. It's doing no harm, you know? So hopefully I'll be able to finish that one by the end of today, but for now I'm going to go have some food and listen to some more of the audiobook. I might finish it off now because I've not got too much left. So let's do that. I have finished Paladin's Grace by Kingfisher, the audiobook I was listening to. I really enjoyed that one. It was good fun and very wholesome, even though it had some kind of dark elements to it as well. It did end on a little bit of a cliffhanger for one of the plot threads in there. So I definitely think I'm gonna have to get to the next one, which I think is Paladin's Strength. It's one of those interconnected ones where it doesn't continue with the same characters, but it features a character who was mentioned in this story, who is actually one of the best friends that I was talking about earlier, who I thought was great and I wanted to see more of, so excited for that one. Right now, it is 5 to 3, so I'm gonna see if I can finish Mysteries of Thorn Manor in the next 3 hours, I suppose, a little under 3 hours. I should be able to, really, if my concentration holds. Do that. Look how mini it is. It's so diddy. It's fine. I got this. I finished. I did it. And I still have about 40 minutes left. It is 8 minutes past 5, so exactly 40 minutes left. But this was very sweet in the end. I won't go into too much detail because obviously I don't want to spoil the first book. This was just an enjoyable little extended epilogue, really, for the characters involved. I had fun reading it, but if it didn't exist, I wouldn't be mad. I think that Sorcery of Thorns did stand on its own. This was just a nice little trip back into the world. I'm gonna, for the last little bit I have before the 24 hours is up, I will read a little bit more of Fireborn because I'm really enjoying this one so far, so I want to make sure I get through as much as I can in this 24 hours. And then I think I'll do a proper wrap-up ending tomorrow after I've gotten some sleep. So I will see you then. Hello, welcome to the next day. I have officially recovered. I honestly did a lot better than I expected to. I only had like a couple of little teeny tiny naps in there. I found getting distracted to be a lot more of a problem than falling asleep, which was not what I expected. But I think that doing something like this more often would definitely be good for my attention span. So I hope you enjoyed this one because I'm probably going to do some more of these. But in the end, I managed to finish 2 books and I'm halfway through another one, or nearly halfway through. But I finished Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson and the audiobook of Paladin's Grace by Kingfisher. And I am 217 pages into the second Fireborn book. So that's a pretty hefty chunk of reading. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's definitely the most I've read in that period of time, in just 2 days. If you, like me, are a pretty slow reader, then I hope you can take some solace in this video because I know that this is a smaller haul than a lot of the usual 24-hour reading vlogs you'll see. But I'm really pleased with how much I got through here. It's definitely set off my reading year ahead of schedule. And I would say overall, Mysteries of Thorn Manor I enjoyed. I would recommend if you've read the first book, Sorcery of Thorns. It's just like a sweet little epilogue. And I'm really enjoying the second Fireborn book so far. It's definitely quite action-packed. There's a lot of tension. I'm enjoying the character relationships and interactions so far. But the real surprise for me was definitely Paladin's Grace. I didn't expect to enjoy that one quite as much as I did. The writing was really, really funny and really heartwarming, but there was also a reasonable amount of plot to keep you intrigued. So I definitely want to read the second one in that series and maybe some other books by Kingfisher because I know they have a pretty decent catalogue at this point. So I will definitely look into those. But that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, especially for my first vlog. Never mind my first 24-hour reading vlog. I really hope you enjoyed this one and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.